Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Learn with Mahesh. We know Google's CloudSQL option used to offer two managed databases. One is MySQL, MySQL 5.6 and 5.7, Postgres 9.6 and 11 version. Now there's a new entry to this instances, which is your SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server 2017 version, and currently it is in beta stage. So let's try to provision one SQL Server instance and try to connect it from our local client, which is installed on our local desktop. So click on the create instance and let's wait for the APIs to be enabled. Once the API is enabled, let's try to give a name, Cloud SQL hyphen SQL Server demo, and by default the username is SQL Server, and let's give a password like demo GCP, and I'll use the region which is closest to me, Mumbai. Any zone is fine. And when it comes to the machine type, so you have additional information which you need to give, the database version and the database edition. So if you want to just do it for the first time, so I would suggest using the default one, which is your SQL Server standard one, or if you have used Express, you can also use it. And if you want something more robust, an enterprise version is a better choice. So let's leave it as default because this is the first time we are doing a provisioning a Cloud SQL instance, sorry, SQL Server instance on GCP, and that to manage one. So let's leave everything as default. And the most important thing, at least for this demo, is how do we connect? We need to connect it from our local laptop, right? So let's give it a public IP address, and we have seen few demos on MySQL how we can enable private IP address. The same set of procedure follows here also. So for now, let's just leave it as public IP address. And usually when you create a public IP address, you need to make sure a set of whitelisted IP address who can connect to that. So since in this demo I am connecting from my laptop, if I get my IP address, it should give me this IP address. So let me copy this, add this in the network so that I will be able to connect it easily, my laptop. And to be on the safer side, I'm going to remove the last 8-bit and add /24 so that even if the IP changes, I will be still able to connect it. So all good, and we can leave all other stuffs default since this is our first demo on Microsoft SQL Server. So let's click create and let's wait for the instance to be provisioned. Alright, the SQL Server instance is provisioned now, so and it also has a public IP address. Let's try to connect it from our SQL Server Studio, which can be downloaded. This is the client, you can just download it. It's a free download. You can just download it on your laptop and you can try to connect it. Let me try to connect it. So I've already installed it, so I have entered the username and password, and let's try to connect it. And once it is successfully connected, you should see on your left hand side the menu bars, the databases, all those things. By default it will only have the system related database. So let's try to quickly query this instance to see everything is working fine. And I want to select this option, select star at the rate the version which is installed. Let's try to select it and see what is the output. And I had observed a interesting thing when I saw this. So if I just expand it, we know it is SQL Server 2017. So that is the option which we got when we started provisioning it. But the interesting fact or the stuff which I observed was on which operating system it is installed on. For people who don't know this information, SQL Server Microsoft SQL Server now supports running SQL Server on Linux environment also. It's no more on Windows operating system. It supports Linux also. And in this case, it is installed on Ubuntu 16.04 version. So that is a stuff, an interesting stuff to note. One important thing with the Cloud SQL is it's a managed database. What do you mean by managed database? So if you just click on this instance, you'll get lots of inbuilt features which Google takes it or Google handles it for us. For example, taking up the backups. you can create automated backups. So for example here, if you just enable this, you can set up the backups by just a click of a button. That is one option. And say for example, if you want to upgrade the operating system, all those things Google will take care by it will be done by Google by themselves. So you don't need to you don't need to have the overhead of managing the server itself. But you may not get access to log into the instance in a managed service. So we saw it was a Linux machine, so you cannot SSH into that Linux machine, and you cannot control or modify anything in that operating system and that instance. That's your managed service. But if you want more control, then what you can do is you can install it on your virtual machine. So instead of installing it on plain operating system, what you can do is you can do bit smarter. You can prefer to use marketplace and search for SQL Server, and you should definitely see this option, which is exactly the same thing which we installed using the managed version option of it. So two ways are there, managed and unmanaged. I would prefer to use managed service because I don't need to do lots of operation work there. But if it's more of unmanaged SQL Server, then you need to patch your operating system, patch your SQL Server instance, then take yourself backup or you write some script. All the overhead is there. So based on your requirement, whether you want more hands off or more hands on, you can choose either one of the options. My preference is always to use managed services, so like the one which we just provisioned. So that's a video which I wanted to share today. Hope the video is helpful. Thank you for watching.